Grizzly. At Grizzly, we believe charging your electric vehicle should be simple, reliable, and affordable. That's why we design, engineer, and build our chargers in Canada, ensuring top-tier quality and performance. Powered by United Chargers, every Grizzly model is crafted in-house, built to withstand extreme conditions, and tested for reliability. Recognized by leading publications for its performance and value, Grizzly delivers both durability and intelligence with heavy-duty aluminum enclosures, premium output cables, and smart charging features like scheduling, usage tracking, and OCPP compatibility with multiple charging apps. Grizzly. Simple, reliable, affordable, built for every climate, every EV, everywhere you go. Visit grizzly.com to learn more.
Hello and welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. It's Friday, August the 8th, 2025, and this is episode 100. That's right, 100 episodes of the Batteries Included podcast. So, on today's show, we'll be talking about the launch of the Xpeng Next P7, the tease of the Mercedes-Benz GLC EV, and BMW iX3 has a one-year carbon payback, and of course, much, much more. I'm your host, Dominic Ionni, longtime auto journalist. Joining us today is the imperturbable Mr. Tom Malogny, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. Kyle O'Connor is with us again this week, joining us, as always, from the majestic, practically palatial halls of Autospec Studios. And it's just the three of us this morning. So let's jump into it. Not a whole lot of news this week. So, it might not be the whole 90 minutes that we often do, or I think last week it was like 2 hours, but it might be half of that today. We'll see how it goes. How are you guys doing this weekend? Almost weekend.
All's fine over here.
Yep, doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, right on. So, Tom, let's see. You were in the middle of a recharge rescue operation this week. I don't know if you want to talk about that right away, but we could talk about that next week more. But you managed to find some time, regardless of that, to go to Scranton, Pennsylvania, to check out the new Ionna station there and chat with Seth Cutler, the CEO of Ionna, as well as Travis Sheetz, the CEO of Sheetz. That's the like a gas station convenience store chain, travel center chain. And I had no idea that the Sheetz was a family name, so it was it was fun learning that this week. So two CEOs and one video. So I guess there's a partnership going on. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's not a new site. This was actually the first site in Pennsylvania. They opened it up a few months ago. I actually made a video. I drove over there because it's the closest Ionna to my house. It's a little under 100 miles. But they hadn't had their canopy installed yet. They just wanted to get the chargers up and running. If you followed Ionna, what they were doing in the early days, like months ago, was really doing a lot of beta testing with different things, because they admitted, to Kyle and I, even when we went to the soft opening down in Apex, they're still feeling their way and learning what works and what doesn't work. So they opened it up, but now they have the canopy installed. And so they did like a ribbon cutting ceremony with Seth Cutler, who's in the screen now. He's the CEO of Ionna, and also Travis Sheetz, who's the CEO of Sheetz. And yeah, that was funny. I didn't realize it either. And so I go to, everyone's saying, Tom, you should go talk to Travis. You should go talk to Travis. So I go over. I'm like, you mind coming on camera for a few minutes? He's like, yeah, sure. So I'm like, Travis, what's your last name? And he looks at me. He goes, it's Sheetz. And I laughed. And I'm like, really? What's your last name? And he goes, I'm serious. It's Sheetz. So I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And then he tells me the story about like his grandfather. Their name was Sheetz with an S, like as you would normally sell sheets. But when he started the business, he said it would be more catchy if it had a Z on the end. It makes people look, because it's unusual. So he thought it would be a good marketing thing. So he actually changed the family name to Sheetz with a Z. So it's a cool backstory. In any event, I wanted to talk to him in particular. Seth's a great guy. I love talking to Seth. He gave us a nice update, but we could talk to Seth anytime, Kyle and I, if we call them up. You don't always get to talk to, Travis Sheetz. So, but was interested about talking to him was, if you guys recall, Sheetz was one of the first convenience store franchises to install EV charging on its properties. I'm not saying it was the first, but it was one of the first to welcome this and say, this might be the future. Maybe we should go in that direction. I think it was like 2012 or 2013 that the first Sheetz installed chargers. They probably weren't even DC fast chargers at the time. They might have been level 2. I don't really remember, but I remember way back a long time ago that they were one of the first companies to do that. And back in that time frame, I was talking to some people in a lot of the large franchises around me, at least, like the Wawas and the Quick Checks, and they were all kind of, maybe we'll get into that in the future, but right now we don't see enough adoption to consider installing on our property. Maybe we'll do a couple pilot sites here and there. But it really seemed to me at the time that Sheetz was kind of like, yeah, I think this is something that we need to start putting into our future portfolio. So that's really why I wanted to talk to him. And he was a nice guy. And, just ask some general questions about why you did a partnership like this. They're open to other partnerships. As you know, they have Electrify America at some of their sites. I'm not sure. There's not a lot of Sheetz in my area. So maybe Kyle could talk to. Do they have any Tesla superchargers, Kyle, at any Sheetz? Yeah.
Yes, many.
I didn't know that there's very few Sheetz up here in my where these convenience store franchises are very regional. Where I live up here, Wawa and Quick Check dominate. But then you just drive a little south and you start seeing all the other franchises and so forth. But so I thought that was cool that that this company understood early on that they that EV charging should be part of their portfolio. But it's funny, one of the questions I did ask Travis was like, could you see a time when there's higher throughput with your fast chargers than there is with your gas station, your gas pumps? And he kind of laughed. I was like, oh, well, not in my lifetime. So I think he's not that old of a guy. I think that he could see that happen at some point. But in any event, it was a nice trip. The canopy's nice. It's a little disappointing that the Ionna doesn't seem to be interested in doing any type of solar on their canopies at this point, at least. But they could always add that down the future. They have a lot of moving parts right now. The company just wants to get rolling, and maybe at some point we'll see that. But Ionna sites are great to use. They're user friendly. The Alpes are great units. So they seem to be doing a lot of things right now, Ionna. So I hope that continues.
Right on. Have you been to this? Have you been to Scranton, Ionna, Kyle?
No, I was just thinking I want to go do a video maybe where we go on a road trip to every Ionna location. I think that'd be kind of fun, sort of an end of year, or maybe even sooner than that. Jump in a Gravity, maybe, I don't know, something interesting, and go on a road trip. So I think that'd be great. Of course we I feel like we should do a better job highlighting like their new stations. They just keep coming online. Now that I just moved to North Carolina, there's Ionna presence here. So I should make some videos back at Ionna Apex and at their other location and just kind of keep tabs. Right now, Walter, who works for us, he does a great job of keeping on track of the Ionna progress and every other charging network's progress. He does these weekly DC fast charging updates on our Bits channel. I feel a bit removed from it, so I need to get back into it and go visit some stations.
Well, if you better hurry up, because as you mentioned, they're coming online quickly. The longer you wait, the longer that road trip is going to be. And if you wait too long, you might not be able to keep up with the installations with your driving. So they're really moving, Ionna, and let's hope it continues. And there's going to be bumps in the road, but right now, for what they've done in the first, they really officially opened their first site in February. They had a couple soft openings before that, but the official first site was in February. So they've literally only been open for 6 months now. I don't think we've seen any other DC fast charge network have this much progress in the first 6 months of opening. They're officially doing their first site. So, I'm not going to say that, they're the be all end all just yet. But right now they certainly have been doing a very good job. Will they hit 1,000? Kyle, what do you think? I don't think they're gonna. Their goal was 1,000 charging stalls in this first year. They'd have to really ramp up in the next 5 months.
Yeah, I don't
They're at
know.
like 225 now or something like that.
I'm probably not the right person to ask about this because I just genuinely don't know what they have in their pipeline. And if they're just like planning everything and then the last quarter is just going to be insane, I have no insight. But what I will say is every Ionna station, with the exception of one, has been extremely EV driver friendly. Like, trash cans, windshield washers, canopy, great convenience store or lounge. I like their lounge locations. I've been to a few of those. And so I think that's really cool. The one that I went to that I didn't like so much, I think was fixed after I was there, but it was just in the back of a parking lot. It had a canopy. It was lit. I mean, it had all the stuff. The pavement in the parking lot was like going off-roading to get to it. And there was like an abandoned building there. And it's just kind of weird in the middle of Kansas when there was just a perfect place to put it right on the other side of the highway. Now, who knows why they couldn't do that at a convenience store? Maybe power restrictions. There's always a story. They know what EV drivers are looking for. But that's pretty impressive to me to just find one station that was not, I would say, perfect when the rest of them have just been amazing.
Yeah. That's so far so good. Let's hope they keep it up. We'll be there to report if they don't. But so far so good. I can't find a lot of flaws with what Ionna's been doing so far. So we needed this.
We have one.
We needed
one
good news.
Yeah. We have one coming up, opening up in Tallahassee at some point. I need to go over and check out that site. And there's one in Valdosta, which is like not that far from me. I should go over there, and I can't charge at it, but I can go over and visit my Tesla Model 3 is like so old. You need to get the little presto changeo electronics in the back there to make it accept
if you have any
charge.
Tesla credits, I think I paid like $200 or $250, and they came to the hub and swapped my charge port for me. It was really
I don't think I have any Tesla credits. I wish I did.
Buy a Tesla with Dom's referral code, and that'll give you a free CCS adapter. Yeah. One thing
buy several Teslas.
One thing I think is worth mentioning that I've been noticing more of, especially as I've been talking to a lot of new EV drivers recently. Like a lot of my friends that are not car people have started to get into electric, and it's always like, where do I go to charge? And you could give them the whole like plug share thing and whatever. And typically I just find that people kind of find a network that works for them. They know how to activate it. They know they can rely on it. And then they just use those. Like they're like, especially if you're just getting started, price is less of a concern. You just want to make sure you can charge your car. So being able to recommend going to an Electrify America station, which honestly, they've been working really well the last few months. I mean, there's I'm sure a handful of stations that aren't, but my experience has been pretty good. I just am like, just go to your local Electrify America station and just charge there, because I know they'll be able to get a charge and it'll be great. Same thing with Ionna. Go find an Ionna station. You'll be able to get a charge. If you're Joe Schmo and you've got one charger in the back of your restaurant and another weird thing over here, it's just hard to recommend people to go to those stations because the experience could be weird. You got to deal with QR codes or it's something different. I don't know. It's just nice when you know how to operate a station and that experience is everywhere. Same thing as like Walmart. They're all the same wherever you go. You go to a Hilton, they're all the same wherever you go. That's really nice to have with EV charging.
Yeah. And one of the things that Ionna's understood and doing right is that it seems like there's a minimum of 10 stalls at each site. What Kyle just mentioned about recommending charging to people. Like when I'm talking to friends and recommending, it's hard for me to recommend EVgo in many instances. And I like EVgo. I use EVgo all the time because so many of their sites only have a couple stalls. True. Now, their newer sites all have more stalls. But if somebody's out somewhere and they're not EV savvy, I have to, check out how many stalls they have first. It's easy for them to just find, at EVgo or Electrify America or Ionna. And I'm afraid to recommend people to go to EVgo while I have no problem using it, because then that's another layer of work they have to do. Well, how many stations are there? How many are working? When you have, like, that's one of the things Tesla from day one just nailed it. Besides everything else that Tesla did well with charging, they just put so many stalls, it was redundancy. If it was busy, if they were broken, if whatever happened, there were so many stalls there, you could tell somebody just go to a Tesla stall. And with Ionna, they're doing seems like a minimum of 10 charging stalls, and that's one of the things that you absolutely need because things are going to break. I've gone to Tesla superchargers where 2 out of 8 were not working. And Tesla fixes them pretty quickly, but that doesn't help you at 10 o'clock at night when you need a charge and they're not coming for 2 days. If it was an EV Go station and it was 2 out of 4, you might be waiting for an hour before you can even get plugged in, and you hope that the person just didn't leave their car. It happened to me one time. Somebody left their car plugged in. They didn't come back, and there was 2 functioning and 2 broken. So we really only had 1. So we were queued to get to that one because one idiot was done charging and the connector was locked to their car, and they were nowhere to be found. They were done charging for like an hour. And any event, the number of stalls is super important. And some of the early EA sites, EA's doing all multiple stalls now. They're not doing anything. I think 10's their minimum on the new locations. But some of their earlier sites have those 3. The closest one to my house has 3 DC fast chargers. It's always full, so I don't even go to it anymore. And it works fine. They're all new. They put the new chargers in, but 3 is, come on, that's so 2010.
It's true. Brandon Flash in the comments today, he's saying that the Mercedes-Benz network is installing chargers pretty quickly too, and saying, I think they're talking about the pricing here, saying Mercedes is very reasonable as well. Yeah. And they use the Alpitronic units as also, which I believe Electrify America is starting to use those as well. Alpitronic is like no, pardon?
Their pilot program, they have 2 sites.
Oh, okay. Are they're not putting in? I thought it was a kind of a regular.
No.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood that press release.
They may be, but it's not official yet. They're testing them out. So.
I see. Okay. Well,
they really needed to get chargers with NACS connectors in operation really soon. That's the answer that they told me. They said this was the point of least resistance. They knew the units worked. They've been field tested. So let's get 2 sites out there with NACS connectors. So
right.
We'll see where it goes from there.
Alpitronic just has a great reputation as well. Oh, me and my EUV is saying I saw an Alpitronic EA station in Pennsylvania. All right.
That's cool.
Maybe 3 then, because I thought there was one in Florida and one. I don't think it was
Connecticut
in Pennsylvania.
and Florida.
I think it was in Connecticut, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So that'd be interesting. Maybe you could tell us the location. Where'd you see that in PA? If it's close to me,
my EUV. Where is that? Where in Pennsylvania?
Well, I guess Mike.
Brandon knows about it.
Yeah,
of course, Brandon knows about it.
Pennsylvania site is Apple Green. Yes, that just went online this week.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess the Alpitronic stations could work for Electrify America. It's a totally different layout than what they've always planned for. They've always been split systems. So you have the charging cabinets far away with dispensers up close. Alpitronics are all in one. It doesn't inherently make it bad, just as a little bit different from wiring. And then the screen being on the side is really the only downside of the hypercharger from my perspective. And so now we've seen the Alpitronic split system come out, which means you've got the EA kind of style of how they like to do it, where you've got chargers off board and then you can load up dispensers. I think that is what we're going to see a lot of the off-highway corridor charging using. It's called the HYC 1000.
True. And that's like, and the 1000 is for like a megawatt, right?
I don't know the maximum power that you can put in the cabinet. Brandon probably can tell us in the comments, but we can look it up for sure. And there's a video on AutoSpec somewhere about it.
Right. It's a dynamically balanced system. So it'll, feed hopefully the cars, whatever. It splits up the available power to the cars at 1 megawatt per cabinet. So
yeah. So I don't know if it is truly 1 megawatt. Yeah, it is megawatt per cabinet. That's awesome. So yeah, then it's very similar to like how a supercharger works, where you have a central power cabinet and a bunch of dispensers. And that's a great solution.
Right. And I believe Kempower is like that as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, every company offers a split system at this point. They're fairly common.
Right. Alahum Zaid is asking, how is Kempower doing in the US? a Siemens LP1. I've seen some stuff with Kempower. They're not. I mean, they've got great equipment as well, right?
Yeah, I'm a big Kempower fan, and we've seen a lot of like regionally Kempower having massive success. So in the mountains of North Carolina, and eastern Tennessee and northern Georgia, they're really doing a great job of winning a bunch of awards out there. Their headquarters is right here in the Raleigh-Durham area. Definitely need to go over and visit with them and just do a quick update. I think they probably had a slower production ramp. Alpi kind of came in hard. We knew that was going to happen. And also they're the market leader in Europe in terms of installation. So it's a clear, transition. But Kempower is a fantastic, company to source chargers from as well. Ultimately, I hope in the near future, it actually won't matter what hardware you go with. It will all just work. We're not going to have crap on the market. That will get weeded out. I'm sure this won't happen. That would be my dream, where you just have good, reliable hardware. Then you can actually compete on price and service and back-end software and all of that. Now it's kind of just like, is it actually going to work for more than a year? That's the baseline of where we're at.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. The longevity and Chris Bow is saying the new Revel in San Francisco is Kempower. So Revel is a CPO, charge point operator. And Revel, they started in New York City, right? That's the folks from New York City.
Yes, they did the Brooklyn hub first.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. And actually, I need to send you a message, Chris, about maybe joining us next week. So I guess I'm doing that right now. So Tom, like I was saying, you're in the middle of a recharge rescue. I don't know if you want to talk too much about this, but you did share this clip with me earlier. I just finished up another recharge rescue in Middleton, Connecticut today. And here's
Middletown,
a little of what it did. There's more. Look for the full video in a few days. Safe charging.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I just got back. I drove out to Middletown. It's about 150 miles from my house. So it's the first time I could do one of these without flying somewhere. So it was good to be able to drive there. And actually, what you're looking on the screen, I have here now. So I'm doing the post-mortem and checking out what happened. So this guy Matt had he's got a Rivian R1S and a Tesla Model S Plaid, and he had a lot of problems in his house. He's got a great setup at his house. He's got solar. He's got, I think, 14 or 15 kilowatt hour of on-site battery storage. He's got geothermal. His house is nuts. And so he's got two chargers. He has one run going to a Tesla wall connector on one side of his garage, and on this side he has got a 100 amp feed, 100 amp aluminum feed going into this box that was charging a ChargePoint Home Flex, which is 48 amp charger, which should be fine. 100 amp feed. You can downsize the wire in this box, and the charger's right below the box. The problem is the company that did the installation. Now, this was installed by a licensed electrician, and it was inspected by the local inspector. They ran number 8 Romex to a 48 amp charger. And in 3 weeks, this happened. It took 3 weeks of charging for this to happen. So, little class here. I'm trying to figure out things and do some post-mortem. This is one of the connectors that you see there right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is the number 1 aluminum wire feed, and on the other side was the number 8 copper.
Oh my God.
So that's what melted. This was the point of failure right here. This was leaning up against that hole that you see in the box up on the top, which melted through the plastic box. And Dom, if you could take that off, can you just put me on the screen for a second? Because I want to show you something. So a lot of people talk about torquing connections properly, and that if you just crank on it, as long as it meets the minimum, you're okay. And there's nothing could be farther from the truth. Because if you take a look at this now, on the one side, you see the aluminum wire. Can you just put me up there?
No, I'm trying to, but it's not working for me.
Okay, so I'm getting dizzy, Dom. So you can see here, this is the aluminum wire. It looks fine. There was nothing actually wrong with that. Here's the copper side, and since we can't get too close, you can't see. it was crushed so hard and cranked so hard that now that number 8 wire, which was insufficient to begin with, it had to be a number 6 THHN feeding a 48 amp charger. It's crushed down, and it's like a millimeter of actual wire, because the electrician just on this side just cranked and cranked and cranked and mushed it down to nothing. So, and that's why we have torque settings, and why it's so important to properly torque it. And the electrician that did this just cranked it till he couldn't crank it anymore, and he mushed the wire so much. Now, even if this was a number 6, the proper wire, it probably would have eventually failed. But since it was a number 8, it failed in 3 weeks. And luckily, Matt had just gone into his garage to do some things, and he heard like a crackling. And he looks up, and smoke's coming out of the corner of the box. And he had a fire extinguisher in his garage. He put it out and opened it up. And it's funny, he called his electrician. They're like, "Oh, we'll come back and fix it." He said, "You're not going anywhere near my house. Give me a refund and just leave." So I called Cumera and I said, "Look, I need somebody who is really good. Not that all the Cumera installs aren't good, but I said, this house is a complicated house. It's super complicated, the house. I said, there's all kind of stuff going on here. Give me somebody in the area that is your top guy." So they didn't even bat an eye. They said Ed West, this guy in Connecticut, everybody knows him. The hardest installations we do. So Ed came out, looked at it. He called me back and he's like, Tom, I don't think I want to do the work in this house." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "There's so many mishmashes." He said, you could tell like the guy must have had 4 different electricians that all came and did their own bit, but didn't consider the whole house. And none of them did load calculations. He had a 200 amp service in his house, right?
Lots,
in his garage
right? Alone,
he had 100 amp going to this. Now, even though you're only charging at 48 amps, it's a 100 amp circuit with a 100 amp breaker, so, and the Tesla wall connector. And he had a geothermal that can draw 35 amps or something like that. So his load calculation was so off that Ed was like, "Look, we need to do load management in the house. Does he want to pay for all this and everything?" So anyway, I contacted, or we contacted Emporia and said, "Look, I need to do dynamic load management for one of his EV charging circuits. Will you supply the equipment?" Because again, I pay for this all in my pocket. Qmerit doesn't pay for anything. And so I tried to get some stuff done, and I did. Everybody was great. Ed actually gave me a reduced price. We fixed everything in his house, and we left yesterday with him charging and the house all good to go. But there were so many things, and this is what I tell people. I know you should be able to feel confident if you hire a licensed electrician and it gets inspected. Kyle had a problem. He had a licensed electrician. It was inspected. I urge everybody to just pay a little bit more and get somebody who is super experienced with EV charging equipment. Ed said that they've installed over 2,500 chargers in people's houses and businesses. And mistakes get made, and the problem is you can get away with mistakes in a lot of instances with electricity. You can get away because most circuits draw so little and not continuously. But EV charging, it's like air travel. It's really safe, but it's really unforgiving if you make a mistake. So there's a lot of great electricians out there. There's a lot of electricians that shouldn't be doing work. It's like any other field. There's great doctors out there. There's doctors that, you don't want to be using them if you got something wrong with you. So in any event, I'm putting this video together. It was a good video because it wasn't just a NEMA 1450 melting like we see in so many instances. This was a complicated problem that showed incompetence by licensed electricians. And I hate to say it, but the inspector also. The house was so far over what any load calculation would allow. I don't know how it got inspected, and I don't know how any electrician didn't walk in and say, you could tell. You look at the panel, it's a 200 amp panel. You've got a 100 amp, a 60 amp, another 60 amp, a 50 amp, a 40 amp. It's like, who looked at that and said, yeah, this is okay? In any event,
Is it-
That's the scariest part to me is, okay, I
Right.
can understand a bad electrician, but the inspector is supposed to be the like guy to catch the mistakes. And if
I
you've
know.
got so much going on with a house, like you would, if it's a normal whatever, you look at it, you're like, okay, that's fine. But with so much going on at the house, you would think, oh, let me just take an extra second and inspect. And that's crazy.
And it's easy to tell if a connection has been torqued properly, because what you're supposed to do when you use a torque wrench and you torque a connection that requires specific torquing, what you do is you take a marker and you slide a black line across the connection and the connector. And that goes, and that when the inspector sees that, he says, oh, okay, that was torqued. That's how you tell people. I mean, you could cheat. You could just take a marker and slide it across. But I mean, it's so easy to just torque it. If you know you have to do it and you're going to go take the time to get your marker out, you might as well just use a torque wrench and torque it properly. So you could tell these weren't, nothing was torqued. I mean, you could obviously just look at it, and sometimes it's hard for me to tell what was wrong. This is what was wrong. This connection right here is what caused the problem. They mashed this number 8 wire so tightly. You really can't see it without making my screen bigger. But there's nothing left to the wire, and they had to use these terminal blocks because they had a number 1 wire on one side, which is okay. You can do that. So if the terminal block was a little bit smaller, you couldn't have mashed it this much. But you really can't see it. There's nothing left to the wire. Whoever did this just cranked and cranked and cranked and cranked and mushed the wire down to like a millimeter.
And the wire's undersized too, right?
And the wire was undersized, yeah.
Did you say it was aluminum as well?
The feeder was 100 amp aluminum. Not ideal, but it's okay. It's number 1 wire. If it's torqued fine, that was okay. And the only reason why the homeowner ran a 100 amp feeder instead of a 60 amp, because it was a 60 amp circuit. And that's another thing, because it had the 100 amp breaker. That's another reason why it wouldn't trip. If it was a 60 amp breaker, it could have the problem could have tripped the circuit breaker. But this thing would have never tripped. So we downsized the 100 amp to a 60 amp breaker in the panel, and ran number 6 THHN in a metal jacket to the charger. So anyway, it was an interesting day yesterday. Matt had a lot of issues at his house, but I think we left him in pretty darn good shape. So it was satisfying when you see all this stuff, and when you leave after 6 hours, you're like, yeah, he's good to go now.
So Kyle, you're kind of going through a huge charging situation there at the track. You're installing about 1580 amp, or you want to install 1580 amp AC chargers by the office building at the track, and I think you want to do some DC charging as well. But I guess maybe you're having some issues. We didn't really jump into that yesterday when we were talking, but
oh, no issues. Actually, everything's looking pretty smooth from our side.
Oh, really? Okay.
So yeah, it's all good. We've got plenty of power at the track, which is awesome. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how much we're going to get into it. We'll do an episode, and I don't know when this will happen, but to update everyone on how that process is going, there is not enough installed transformer capacity at the track. However, we do have like a 30,000 volt medium voltage feed. It's like 37 or something, with basically unlimited power, which is nice. Okay. And the power company, Dominion, is awesome. They were like, you just tell us anywhere on this high voltage loop, which is pretty much goes around the property, where you want us to drop in a transformer. We fill out a load calculation sheet, and they're like, within 6 months, we'll have a new transformer ready to rock and roll going. And they're like, that's the long lead time. I mean, with this stuff, always add more time. But for the AC charging, it's pretty interesting. We're going to come off of basically do a single phase for it and go up to 240 volt, because for AC charging, it's so much better to have a bit higher voltage than the 208. And then we're also able to run, basically a pedestal mount charging out in front of the building. So the highest transformer they have that's single phase is 167 kVA. So we're basically going to max that transformer out, and maybe not even have to do load management. If we end up putting more stations in, we'll do a site level load management. But the likelihood of us running 80 amps on every single charger at the same time is possible, but unlikely.
So how are you going to set those up? Are they going to be like all around the building, or are you going to have like a bank of them?
Well, actually, Greg says his son works for Dominion, so definitely have him reach out because I'd love to find someone over there to film all this stuff with because I think it'd be fun to show what they're doing. I want to show all the power stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, what was your question, Dom? Sorry.
Are you like setting up like a bank of chargers? Or are you going to install them like all around the building in the different bays and just like, or a small bank out here and then a bunch here? What's the
Yeah,
approach?
so there will be a bunch of charging all around. There already kind of is, but we're putting in just in the front parking lot. I want every space to have on the left side of it, which we have 30 parking spaces. So I want 15 of the 30 to have high power AC charging 100 amp circuit with 80 amp output. That's the goal. We might end up putting a couple 11 kilowatt units in there for whatever reason if we need to for load or something else. But essentially, yeah, I just think it'd be great to have 80 amp 80 amp charging in the parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, it'll eventually be used. I mean, people are going to be driving EVs there quite a bit besides
Well,
your own
we plan
fleet.
to have a bunch of events, of course, and there's
Yeah.
also a lot of testing and other stuff happening there. So like there is an increasing EV presence, and especially with us at the facility now, we are going to have a bunch of people come. And so yeah, let's go hardcore on the power. If we're going to do it, let's go in.
Speaking of power and EVs charging at the track, you released a video this morning introducing the world to your second generation Toyota Rav4 EV. And I haven't actually seen this video yet, but see, this was a contender for the $5,000 fizz that we did. But the interior, I think you said it smelled like a cat lived and died in it. So, how's the rehabilitation going?
It's really coming along nicely. I bought this 2013 RAV4 EV for $2,000 from one of Alex's customers. Also turned out to be a viewer, which is great. Just like the Mercedes B-Class that's on screen, it uses the same Tesla Model S large drive unit and a different battery than the B-Class, but like a 42-ish kilowatt hour Tesla battery pack. And it's awesome. This thing drives great. It's really cool. The paint is all peeling, which is a known fault with the white paint for Toyotas. So we've got to fix that, either wrapping it
Okay.
or plastic dip or painting, or I'm not sure. But other than that, it's like a
Dip.
fully functional, working, great RAV4 EV with the aftermarket CHAdeMO upgrade, which means it DC fast charges. And in this video, I took it to a DC charger and we did CHAdeMO charge it, and it holds full power to 84%. And it's awesome. It's great.
Right on. And it works fine, right? It's plenty of power. This at least it leaves 11s, right?
Oh yeah, it'll roast the tires whenever you nail it. It's very torquey. It's way more torquey seemingly than the B class is.
So, are there a lot of these out there in like the used car world for sale? Is this something you see only once in a while?
No, I think you can find them out there for sure. There's always a few for sale. They tend to have some common failures, of which this one's had most of the preventative maintenance done. So it's had the rotor coolant delete, which is the big deal for these things, so that you don't fry your inverter. And other than that, it's pretty good. I mean, Alex is on the team, so anything that could ever happen to it, he knows how to fix it. And I was thinking we'd turn it into sort of our track support vehicle, safety vehicle. Maybe get some medical supplies, just keep it in there and just keep it, right next to the track. So if anything happens, anyone can just jump in and bring it out if someone crashes or something.
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
just
I think
thinking
they sold
maybe Alex.
2,600 of them back then, and they were, people loved them, and Toyota, but only made 2,600 because that was what they had to do for compliance. So as soon as they hit their number, they stopped. They ended production of it. But and people were mad because it was a great. It was a great car, and I have friends that had a couple of them here in New Jersey. Most of them were, a lot of them were in California. I won't say most of them, there were problems getting them serviced back then. A lot of the Toyota dealers didn't bother getting certified to fix them. So if you bought one and took it to another state, far away from California, Toyota really just wanted people to buy them in California so they could manage the fleet and just, it was a little compliant. It was really a compliance car. But I remember back then, a lot of people took them out of state, and sometimes they had to ship them to other states, like the closest Toyota dealer that would work on their car would be like 800 miles away or something. My friend Ayrton here in New Jersey, he was in the Active E program back then. He got one, and I think he had problems servicing it, but they're great cars.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Of course, Alex will make sure this one gets fixed. Actually, what's funny is this is still under warranty. It has the factory platinum warranty, which means I've got another year of like drivetrain and some other stuff
That's amazing.
still covered. Yeah, which third-party shops can honor that warranty as well. So like QC Charge, a very common repair shop to work on RAV4 EVs in Southern California, and Alex at Wattworks in the Pacific Northwest is two great resources to have. And I'm just thrilled to have this car. We've had it for a few months. We never really made an official announcement, and it was just sitting there. And I'm like, you know what? We gotta tell everyone we got this thing. And I hadn't really driven it much, but I took it up and down the highway yesterday. I drove it around. I really like it. Like, it drives great. This is a fantastic car with plenty of range. Like, it should be just over 100 miles on the highway. Like, it feels like it's got some good, decent range to it. It's very nice.
Cool. Hey, Alex is in the comments. I was just thinking maybe he could, like, he doesn't have anything else to do. Maybe he could start a series where he takes like one of the older, EVs that you can find used on the market and say, have it. So this video series would be something like, so you want to buy a 2015 RAV4 EV? Here's what to look out for, or whatever. Here's the the preventive maintenance or the things to be aware of, because they all seem to have their own like personalities or a set of things that could go wrong, right? Like,
and he knows all of that. So yes, great idea.
Right,
I think we have some of that on our video planning board, and but that's great. We should definitely have him do some of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to get into an electric vehicle. What's the range on this thing?
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. I haven't done the range test yet, but I think it's probably just over 100 miles on the highway. Like, it's very decent, sizable range.
Right, which is like for $2,000.
Well, you're not going to find them for $2,000.
You don't go on road trips, that's all. But that's plenty for all your around town stuff for like the vast majority of people.
Most of them are going between like $500 and $7,500, maybe even a bit more. I've seen some for 10 to 12,000 asking. I'm just always the one that it's like, when I find a great deal, like, yeah, let's get it. Let's make some videos and let's do something cool with it. And
true.
This car clearly needed a little bit of love from a rat situation. So we had to have the whole thing shampooed and the HVAC system cleaned out, and it needed a little TLC, but it smells pretty good now. It's all pretty good. We had it fully detailed, fully cleaned, fully vacuum extracted, etc. It's a nice car. It's a really nice car.
Yeah, they are nice. I think the original EPA range rating was 113 miles when it came out. But I think it defaults, like, you have to tell it every time, right, to charge to 100%. I think it defaults to 80%.
Yeah, I think it's 85%. Alex can say maybe it's 83, but essentially the way it works, Tom, is as the battery degrades, that charging maximum eats into that full charge buffer. So your daily charge range is pretty much the same as it was from new. It's just when you hit max charge, it won't go as high.
Yeah, I remember, because when this came out, the EPA was there was still confusion over what's the best way to rate EVs. Like, if a car always defaults to 80% charge, should that be the EPA range rating, or should it be the 100%? Like, if you have to do something to change the charge, the percentage charge, then that shouldn't be. You know what I mean? I remember this spurred on a discussion with EPA, so they gave it like 2 ratings. I think it was like, if you don't set it to 100%, it's 92 miles. But if you go in and set it to 100%, it's 113 miles, something like that. I remember this is just 12 years ago now, 13 years ago. But there was back in the early days of EVs, there was discussion on if the vehicle defaults to a lower state of charge to save the battery, should that be the EPA range rating, or should it be if the owner goes in and turns it to 100%? Is that what we should do? So, a little bit of EV history.
Yeah, so I can't actually get mine into extended mode, because really the only problem I have is that screen is broken.
Yeah.
And but again, I don't really think it would do much, because I'm that
it's
buffer
degraded,
gone anyway. So
Yeah.
You
You ate it up already.
Yeah, I don't even need the screen to work, but if someone has one laying around, let me know. We'll swap it in there. But in general, like it just drives fine. It's good.
Yeah.
I only charge it to 40, 50% anyway, like the rest of our cars. So it just sits at low, nice and steady state of charge. And it's a wonderful driving vehicle. I'm so impressed. And it's very torquey. And you know what? It's a great car that if, one of the guys at the track, if their car breaks down for whatever reason and they just need something to take home, it's like, just take this and it's going to be fine.
I know.
Right.
Imagine if Toyota was serious about EVs. And back then, starting from 2013, they just made an electric version of the RAV4. Like, you didn't wait till they made this weird name BZ4X thing with different body panels in the front. You can't get it with painted one color. Like, what if they just took their RAV4, continued to make it regular and hybrid, but made an EV version of it starting back in 2013? I think it would have sold like crazy. It's the form factor that people love. The RAV4 is so popular, and they could make a good one. It's just Toyota just doesn't. They don't want to make a good EV. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, that was part of my video here. It's like, look at the success that the Tesla Model Y has had, and if they had just iterated on RAV4 EV from there. Model Y still could have happened, but it would have had some real strong competition in the EV space. Now, of course, RAV4 combustion sells like hotcakes. Let's not forget that. Toyota is not having a sales problem across their entire line. But if they wanted to compete in the EV sector as well, they could have been right up in there. And they already had the Tesla thing. Imagine just if that collaboration continued, it would have been a totally different trajectory of the planet.
100%. And it's just simply, Kyle, I'm convinced that it came down to is they don't want EVs to succeed. They want to continue to sell hybrids because that's how they make their money. They're the best at making hybrids in the world. They own the hybrid market worldwide. Why now switch powertrains until you have to, until you have no choice but to switch powertrains? So anyway, Martin's not here. Somebody had a rant against Toyota.
So they should look at their success with the hybrid thing, though, and just do the same thing with their sort of now that moment's passed. But they had the foresight back in the day to invent the hybrid system, lose a bunch of money for a few years, and then it became a huge cash cow, a great technological advance. Or the head of everybody for a while. It just they just had to eat profits for a couple of years, and then
what you're describing, Dom, is the innovator's dilemma. Read that book.
Right.
Then you'll know why they didn't do that.
Okay.
The innovator's dilemma explains they're not talking about Toyota, but it fits perfectly in here. What happens to companies that dominate in a certain segment, Nokia, for instance, BlackBerry, that are the best at the top of their game, and then they cannot pivot because they're so laser focused on improving their existing product because it's so profitable for them. They're not willing to make that left turn or that right turn. They just want to make what they're doing better and better and better, and they think they can just continue to hold on. And what happens is, they become irrelevant. So we'll see if that happens to Toyota. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but there's lessons to be learned with Nokia and BlackBerry and Sony with televisions, and I mean you can go on in a Polaroid. These companies that ruled their respective markets, and in a matter of less than a decade, they were irrelevant.
Right. Right. And Alahum is saying, Toyota sales are growing, profits are reducing a bit. Sure. I mean, things are good right now at Toyota, but you can see a dark cloud coming in pretty good from China, at least, like technology wise. China is innovating like crazy in that space. But anyway, Kyle, was that you like giving the emergency brakes a workout there earlier in this video?
It wasn't anything interesting. It used to lock both rear wheels. I mean, you remember we were sliding this thing with the handbrake, but it seemingly only works on the left side now. So maybe we overstretched the cable or something, but it doesn't want to do any handbrake skids.
Okay. I just saw you grabbing on that and like, some action. Okay. So you also started, you also put up you had a busy week this week. Well,
We don't need
on
to
video.
talk about this. This was just a
No, I just
silly
want to show the mention that people up can go check it out. So, but you were mentioning you want to do a few of these, like first person point of view, kind of drives around the track, and this is your Polestar 1, which is an interesting plug-in electric hybrid, plug-in hybrid.
plug-in hybrid.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, it's got electric
Beautiful car.
motors. It's
Look
got
at that.
internal combustion motors with a turbocharger and a supercharger. All the chargers. This car is
AC chargers, supports DC charging as well. It's a complicated
Right.
one. Yeah. But basically, yes, we don't need to go too much into it on this show, but
Yeah.
don't watch this video. No one watched this video, but it's just I'm going to do more sort of POV driving stuff.
Yeah. So just I just want to mention that the people should take a look at your personal channel as well. So you have a Tesla Model 3 Performance on loan right now, and as an owner of an older Tesla Model 3 Performance, you were saying the new one is like better. Like, so I was wondering if you just tell us just a little bit about that. Like, how
Yeah,
much
I mean,
better is the new
better
one?
and worse, and at the same time. So,
Okay.
like, I much prefer the seating position and actually the seats in the old Model 3 Performance. The sound system in the old Model 3 Performance is 100 times better than the new one. Whatever they did with the subwoofer placement of the new car, putting them in that shelf versus having it like almost chassis mounted in the rear, makes it so boomy in the cabin. It's almost impossible to listen to without getting a headache. Versus my old Model 3 Performance, I get in that thing and you feel the bass in your chest. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. There is something so good about first generation Model 3 sound system. It's way too good for the car. And I know you have one, Dominic, and it's just so
I love
awesome.
it so much.
Yeah. Performance wise, though, it's definitely better than the outgoing one. So, like, suspension's massively improved with adaptive damper. Track mode's really cool. That's a different new generation of track mode. The car has almost a different character than the early car when driving him hard. First of all, way punchier. The new rear motor gets the power going amazingly hard. And I've spent some time driving new Model 3 Performance, like I've had it on the Autobahn and stuff. They don't get the performance that we get because they're battery limited. They have the LG battery in Europe. We get the Panasonic battery. The Model 3 that's not nerfed with the LG battery, the US or North America, maybe not even Canada, but the US Panasonic Model 3 Performance. Awesome car. Really quick. 2.9 seconds to 60 or something. Doesn't matter. What matters is the 60 to 120 is just way faster than the outgoing Model 3. It's punchy. And the handling characteristics are amazing. The whole car is very neutral, really nice to slide around, and totally enjoyed driving the new Model 3 Performance. I was kind of a downer on it until I drove it hard. And then I'm like, oh, this thing is just a wheel and tire, mostly a tire, and like slightly upgraded brakes away from being a damn amazing car. And for the money being half the price, just a little bit more than half the price of a BMW M3 for the maybe even better performance, it's insane. It is the best performance car value on the market without question.
Wow. Someone's asking I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, they're asking, is the steering feel any better? My older Model 3 Performance has numb steering.
I'd be curious what he's comparing it to, because the old Model 3 Performance doesn't have that numb of a steering compared to many modern cars. It definitely does if you're comparing to like a hydraulic rack of something, a little bit nicer. And certainly the old Model 3 has a bit tighter ratio. So they slowed down the ratio a bit in the new one. So it's a little bit more progressive on steering tip in. Overall, I would say I prefer the new steering of the car. Gives you a little bit more wheel to work with before something crazy happens. Still a quick enough ratio where you never really have to go hand over hand. And but the feel, we're talking not, amazing feel, but you can place the car easily. Like, I've never had an issue getting the front tire right on the edge and just knowing exactly where it is in the old car or the new car.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing with electric steering racks. The feel is often too light or too heavy and numb, not a lot of feeling it. But I think people are adapting to the new reality of that. I don't know, unless is there anybody out there doing definitely a much better job at steering feel?
Yeah, Porsche is always number one in
Porsche?
steering. Yeah,
Right,
that is
right.
like, if you have to think of one Porsche core competence, it's steering feel. Lucid, actually, amazing job. Not necessarily of steering feedback and feel, but just the texture that comes through, the amount of damping that they put through the entire rack, and what they simulate with the electric motor. Really amazing. The chassis guys at Lucid do a nice job. I actually think if you're a driving enthusiast, a Lucid Air is often overlooked for one of the best balanced and best driving modern cars.
Right. I mean, it looks like such a GT, like a big, comfortable highway cruiser, right? Y-
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it, but I mean, I've had Airs on track and Airs on canyon roads, and they're insane. They are totally, the faster you drive them, the more insane they get. They're incredible.
Right. Alahum is saying that there's IM5 in Europe for competition, but the Model
Yeah.
3 is still better according to the first reviews.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just played around with it.
IM's a new sub brand. Who's that from?
Well, so not really. It's a Chinese cars. It's the IM LS6, which was rebranded under MG as the IM5.
Right. It's
And
MG.
it's a really cool car. I made a video with this car in California, actually. I think I called it like this Chinese Tesla Model 3 competitor or something. It had insane features. They get a little bit of a nerfed version of it in Europe with MG, but still big power, 700 something horsepower. It just wasn't like a fully cohesively great driving car when I experienced it. It just had,
Right.
Chinese tech and crazy stuff. And I also love that, of course. But if you just need one car as an overall package, the Model 3 still just kind of does everything super well.
Right. Yeah. The IM. I remember seeing the IM was 5 and 6. They have the sedan and an SUV or a crossover. They just both went on sale in the UK for our UK viewers. Well, speaking of UK, Martin is still on vacation and he's still coming back. It's just he's having a great time with his family. It's great.
Don, a quick question. Sean Meadows asked, any of you guys heard anything about GM wanting to replace 24 module battery packs? Got a bit of a strange call from them. So,
Damn.
yeah.
Oh,
Sounds
So,
expensive.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Sean, do you mean like I suppose what you mean, they contacted you and said, we'd like to bring your car in and give you a new battery pack. I assume that's what you're saying. Maybe clear that up in the comments. Who knows? Maybe they found a small run of packs that they installed had some sort of an issue and are getting out in front of it before they have a problem. I haven't heard anything widespread about this. Are you a high mileage driver? Do you have a lot of miles on it? How many miles do you have on it?
Well, Sean switches cars quite frequently. Last time I saw him, he had a Hummer EV, but then I think he got an Escalade or maybe a Denali, but he got something. Anyway, Sean's awesome. He came to our Iona Apex event.
Oh, so, here he goes. He has a Chevy RST now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. RST.
Silverado RST. So how many miles do you have on it? I'm just wondering because it's not crazy and unheard of that some manufacturers will do this to a high mileage car early on just to examine the packs, take the packs out. They'll have a couple of customers and examine them. So 10,000 miles, that's not enough.
Already.
That's not enough. That's not enough. So yeah, I just curious, but yeah, no, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything about that. I don't know if Kyle has.
Nope.
But maybe it's what I speculated, that they realized a small run of packs had some sort of an issue, so they're going to contact those people and swap them out.
Well, Sean, let's do a video about it. I mean, Sean's a great friend of ours, so I will. I'll text you, buddy, and let's film whatever process you go through and share it with the viewers.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Just it makes me worry after the Bolt battery fiasco.
I'm sure GM is going to be very cautious if they even think there's any issue. If it's possible for there to be an issue, they're going to get out in front of it. I mean, that's what you say. Then the bean counters get involved and say, well, let's wait until there's one issue before we spend, $50 million switching out, 5,000 packs or whatever.
Speaking of Silverados, I've got one this week on test, the new Trail Boss trim, which I'm looking forward to. But I'm planning, I don't know if it's going to work or not. So have you guys heard of Lightship RV? They make this collapsible RV with the battery pack.
Yep.
They're letting us be the first ones to do a towing test with it this week.
Oh, sweet.
So
Sweet.
yeah, they haven't said, we can't say anything. So anyway, I'm going to tell you
It's
guys.
exciting.
It's exciting, but it's a prototype one. Like they're going into series production. The drivetrain is representative of a series production unit.
Okay.
I think they're a little bit worried about the compatibility with the Silverado. They're like, if you want to do a range test with your Rivian or a Cybertruck, they're like, go right ahead. But what I wanted to do was to do the longest towing possible. So I called Chevy and I was like, can you send a Silverado to Denver? And so there's one on its way there or there now. And then we're going to do a tow test with the Lightship, ideally if it works. It may not be compatible. Like they said they need like a day or two to calibrate the truck to the trailer, and they haven't done a calibration with the Silverado and the Lightship yet. And I was like, well, just go rent one. They're at Hertz and Avis or whatever. Go calibrate it, and then I'll bring the other one in. And I was like, I'll get you the Chevy truck as soon as we can. So fingers crossed it all works out, because I think with the battery pack that's in the Lightship, it would be just a cool thought experiment. We could do over 400 miles towing at 70 miles an hour. That would be the goal.
I mean, trailers with their own batteries, it just solves so many problems with electric towing. That's like the big thing that that EVs like fall down on towing, and this like solves that. Plus, it gives you a power pack at your house when you're not road tripping or whatever. You have this huge auxiliary power situation that in some places, if you use like time of use. So you charge it, when the electricity is cheap, and you run things off of it when electricity is expensive. I don't know if it pay for itself, but it would definitely save you some money, right?
Oh yeah, totally. But I mean, I'm not sure you're worried about saving money when this thing costs $250,000. But
Well, not this one, right? But
not
just
this one.
down the road when
in
you're-
general. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that I'm really excited about. But honestly, if you never see a video from us about it, it just means something fell apart. And I just have the, to be fully transparent, it's like, I'm flying to Colorado, sometime. What I'm really supposed to do is I'm supposed to go to Austin now to go do Robotaxi versus Waymo. And
Okay.
I was going to race FSD versus Robotaxi versus Waymo. Tesla keeps saying they're going to send me the Robotaxi invite, but it hasn't shown up yet, unless it's shown up since we started the show, but no. So I still don't have the invite to do Robotaxi, and I'm like supposed to go there now. So fingers crossed they can get that email. Then I'm going to go to Colorado and do this Silverado test thing. If they can't get it to work with the trailer, I'll find out after the show. Then it may not happen. Either way, they're going to let us tow it with our Rivian. So we are going to tow the Lightship, which will be great.
Good.
So can't wait to try that. I don't know what it's going to feel like to be pushed along from a trailer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to tow a passive thing back there, but then, this is a whole different situation, basically.
Yeah, I don't know how nervous they're going to be. Obviously, we're kind of the first ones, and I agreed. I'm like, I know it's an engineering prototype. When you have a real one, we're going to do whatever we want with it. But to play around with this, I'm happy to play by your rules. But I kind of want to take it up I-70 and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's a highway that you know really well.
Yeah,
and it's a challenging highway as well.
It's crazy, absolutely. It's steepest, insane roads, all that stuff, and high speed, which is tough work for these systems. And then you've got a regen the whole way down. So that could be kind of an interesting one. Anyway, hopefully it all works out.
Right. Anything else you want to talk about before we move on to some news?
So really quick, I want to ask Kyle a question. Kyle, you heard of Sonos Motors? Sono, from they're over in is it Germany or is it Austria? I forget.
Yeah, Germany. They're in Munich.
Yeah, you know that they're selling off all of their equipment now because they're pivoting to just doing solar. So there's an auction coming up in a few weeks. They're selling their car, their beta alpha cars,
a
whole bunch of equipment, everything. Like that might be a good vehicle to have in your museum.
I don't know how we'd get it here. I keep the alerts on all those auction stuff, but it's all in Europe. And so it'd be kind of a pain to bring here. But I'm always interested in like chargers or even solar stuff now and inverters. There's always good stuff when these companies go out of business. It's sad that they went out of business because I really liked the guys there. And I made a video about it, and I kind of was a downer on the video that I made
Yeah.
because I was like, there's no way that they're close to production.
Yeah.
This is what
It's
happened.
true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they had already
You were
been
right.
like in it for like 6 years at that point or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and I'm like, this thing
they-
drives worse than a golf cart.
they started back when I was driving the Active E, like in
Oh,
2011
geez.
is when they came out. We're going to have this small car, whatever. And then people are like, well, BMW is going to have the i3. Don't you think you're going to it's going to be hard for you to compete? And they're like, yeah, but it's going to be half the price of an i3. So, okay, well, there you have that there. But then it just never made it. Yeah, they're now pivoting to just doing solar electric. So I got the email, like, you could do online, and like the opening bid to their car was €600 to one of their cars. So it's like,
Mm.
Yeah, I'm
Anyway.
sure some enthusiasts will spend big money. They had a lot of big investors. I remember there's a couple big Swiss guys that were investing in them. But it was such a cool concept because it was a car for non-car people, which, to be
Yeah.
honest, is most people. And
transportation, cheap transportation.
Did it
It
have
was
like moss for air filtration?
yeah, there was some moss on the inside. It was perfect for cities because access to home charging is really tough. So you just park it on the street. And it was a really great idea, actually. And I really liked the guys, but I just always had a sense that this isn't going to work. And unfortunately, that's the case. They were really relying on like their user base or their future user base to fund the company. A bit of an Aptera situation, although it seems like Aptera has actually been making some progress recently. I think they actually stopped taking investment.
Okay.
Like move to their serious round or something like that. I keep getting emails. It's like your last chance to get in.
Right. Yeah, I saw those too. Yeah, I haven't looked at that for a couple of weeks, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Everything moves pretty fast over there.
Well, not really.
Well, I mean, I mean, in certain respects, at least, yeah.
Pretty
like,
fast, Tom.
It's been a 15-year
Are you
journey.
kidding me?
But 15 journey, but there was a big 10-year stretch or 8 years where nothing was going on at all. So
True.
right. So
Dom,
the
I'm
Xpeng
actually-
piece. Oh, go ahead.
I have the. I don't even know how I can put this up. I'm going to shoot you in WhatsApp really quick a graphic for you to put up before we move on.
Okay.
You should have it now.
Looking.
It's the
Oh.
auction thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
let
there's
me-
probably some good stuff in there.
let me-
But
oops,
yeah, I just thought it was.
that.
I just thought it was interesting. You got it on WhatsApp or?
I should have. I believe that is WhatsApp, and you can see that image.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I'll
That's
see
the
in
car
that.
I drove.
Yeah. So seats and motors.
Yeah, they got all kind of stuff.
Frame, a post and solar panel. All right.
Yeah. So. just thought it
Hey, I
was
wanted to
interesting.
gauge the audience on something really quick, which is I have a new series that we're doing for our out of spec testing channel, and it's called Run to Zero. And the first one will go up this week. And this is more just an experiment. I just thought it would be an interesting idea. I got this mobile DC fast charger. I think we may have mentioned it on the show last
Yeah, we talked about last week some, but you've been playing it more with it this week, and you have a new video up about it.
Yeah, so it's called the Charge Rigs Flex, and I have the baby version, but it's still 120 kilowatt charging wherever I need, and it's 120 kilowatt hours worth of battery storage inside this trailer. It's an awesome unit. So I've basically been running, yesterday I did the first couple tests. I ran 2 electric cars till they stopped moving dead. And they're short videos. They're like, 8-10 minutes is the goal. It's like start at 5% or 10% and just see what happens. What are the warnings? What's the behavior? What's the turtle mode? How far back can you go past turtle mode until the car just completely dies and stops on the track? And then we just roll up the DC charging trailer and charge it right there trackside, which worked really well. It's safe. We're the only ones at the facility, so that's good. And I've also got an EcoFlow battery pack for AC charging for cars that can't DC charge. And so I tried that yesterday. It worked great as well. And so we're calling it Run to Zero. I don't know what the audience thinks, but I think it's cool to see what each car does. It's also helpful for me and Tom when we do our range tests, because Tom will be able to say, oh, Kyle ran the Hummer EV to dead. here's what happens down low. And then he can know based off of the warnings and the behavior if it's about to shut off or not, assuming the BMSs are calibrated. Cars do weird stuff. But in general, I think it's an interesting one to do.
I think it's interesting too. And I agree. It would help me. How many times have I called you and I'm like, Kyle, I know you've road tested this car. I've got, 3 miles estimated remaining range, and I'm 7 miles from the charger. Am I going to make it? You're like, I think, yeah, you should have more than 4 miles of extra range after 0. It's funny. But,
yeah, we do. Some people are asking, my buddy Cord's in the comments, he's asking why do this if we already do it in our 70 mile per hour test. That's true. It's just another piece of content. And the goal is when we run a car through the testing procedures to do this first, so that we know what to expect when we go out on the range test. Also, it's a much easier chunk of content for someone to just search up if they're on a road trip, if they're in a pinch, if they are, whatever happens, and they just want to know what the car's going to do when it runs dead. We'll just have like a good 10-minute, 8-minute video, whatever it is. Here's what happens when it dies.
Right. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's really disappointing though, in a way that all the EVs don't kind of act the same, and I think that's something that should be changed. There should be consistency at low states of charge, and to a certain point, at least, until.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're leaving up to the comment section is what do people think is the correct approach? I'm not here saying I have an opinion because genuinely I don't. I see all sides of the argument, which is should 0 mean 0? When it says 0 miles, you've got one. Basically when you hit 0, you got 1 more mile, thing shuts off, 0, 0. That's how the Germans approach this, many of them. And then also, should there be a buffer? And if there is a buffer, how much should the buffer be? And then if there's too much of a buffer, people might start relying on that. And then you have BMS sway, or it eats into the buffer to hide degradation, or things like that. And so so many cars even freak out when you run them. You can see Wasim commenting here, a lot of issues with cars in the 0 mile test. Yes, we've had so many like weird 12-volt issues and warnings pop up when we run cars to dead. And I think this is just a great way to benchmark what everyone's doing. Once we have a good idea of what everyone's doing, then I think we can say, okay, here's what the majority of automakers think. Here's what we think it should be. And then try and push car makers to do something like Dominic is saying. Ultimately, there's no regulation around what happens down low here as far as the communication points and what happens when you hit 0. Every car is totally different.
There's a lot of comments. People seem pretty enthusiastic about it. Sounds like Bjorn has a similar sort of series going on. I
don't know if he's doing it anymore, but he did for a long time.
Oh, okay. Right. So videos by Stofferson is saying 0 doesn't mean 0 in an ICE vehicle. Why expect that from an EV? Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of having a bit of a buffer after 0, just because, stuff happens sometimes where you never know, what could go wrong. But so it's always good to have it like this.
The thing is, in an ICE car, sometimes, like, even if you have a quarter tank of fuel and you're going around a tight corner, you actually get some fueling issues. So, like, every car is different in this. And so I just think it'd be interesting to do something like this.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the things here. All right. Yeah. Boom. And so let me just take this off here, I guess. Are we done with anything else you want to mention? Talk about before we move on to some news?
I think we covered a lot, and that was an hour 13 minutes of just us spitballing.
And now you can just run through the news real quick, and then we can go summer.
True.
That's right. It's nice weather out here today.
Yes.
Yeah. I've got more work to do after this. So I was just saying the Xpeng or the Xpeng P7 is featured on our thumbnail this week. It's not coming to the US, but it is coming to Europe, and I think it looks pretty amazing, and it's supposed to have some amazing tech. And I imagine at some point, Kyle, you will get a chance to drive this, and you have your European correspondents over there, William, up in Norway. I'm sure he will get a chance to drive this before too long. So I just wanted to bring it up because it's a strong competitor, I think, for the future here in the sedans. It looks so good too. Oh my God. There's
Stunning
still a lot
car.
of Sorry.
It's a real stunning car, but they just came out with the P7 Plus last year. But this is also China, so
Right.
they came out with a P7 Plus, which I thought was the new P7, and now we have the new P7, which
Yeah.
looks incredible. This is like better than Polestar.
It's so hard to keep up with. So the original P7 was launched in 2020, and they've had several versions of it. They made a version called the P7 Wing and gave it scissor doors in like 2001, I think. And then in 2023 they had a refresh and they called it the P7i. And then there was a P7 Plus, I believe that you were saying too, like last year, which I thought was going to be this as well. It was confusing to me. And then, but this is, and when they're in their materials and media materials now, they're referring to this as the next P7 Next or Next P7. But I don't think on the website, and at least in Europe, at least possibly in China, they don't show this car yet. They show the other P7, and but it will start. Yeah, the next P7, it will start shipping soon. So I'm just gonna click that, let it run again. This is not the best video. They don't have like a great video with just focused on the car so much. Oh, they do have some, but they're like 13 seconds long.
There's also some still photography shots that were flying around on the internet. Great X account to follow, by the way, is Drive Green Live Green. He covers a lot of Chinese vehicle announcements.
Drive Green, I should check that out. Image file, I do have. Let's see if I can come on computer.
We don't need to pull it up now, but anyway, P7. This list looks amazing. Really, really nice design.
I love the original one. I got to drive it extensively. I got to drive. I can honestly say I'm the only person outside of the company that drove the P7 on U.S. soil, in China, and in Europe, because the U.S. soil only a couple people did. But I thought it was great. I mean, it was at the time when that came out, it was like. To me, it was amazing that we could get vehicles out of China like this. I think I drove in 2018, I guess, maybe, or something like that. So, geez, you're looking back 7 years or whatever, and before China really started giving us incredible vehicles. And I was sitting and driving it thinking like, I'd probably take this over a Model 3 today. That it had shortcomings at the time, that it didn't handle. It was the ride was much smoother. It was less sporty than say a Model 3. A Model 3 would smoke it on a track, and a Model 3 Performance would beat it in a straight line. I think it went 0 to 60 in like 4.1 or something like that, 4.2. So it was in line with a dual motor Model 3, not the Performance version, and that was the Performance P7. But as far as driving comfort and amenities and just the whole interior layout and the how the whole infotainment system worked and everything, I was blown away. That was one of the first cars that blew me away with Chinese tech, where I was still thinking they were behind us. And then when I went over to China and drove it, I was like, they've caught up, how'd that happen? It happened in like 5 years. But anyway, this second gen, the styling on that, look at that. That is gorgeous. What
so
a
dumb.
car.
Do we know battery capacity and charging specs? Because
5C charging.
So I was just going to say real quickly. First, Urban is in the comments and he's saying it's more Tesla Model S competition size-wise, and that's true. It's like a smidge larger than the Tesla Model S in every dimension except the height. The roof is a little bit lower. The roof is actually a little bit lower than this one is bigger than the original P7, but also a little bit lower. So it's really like a Model 6 kind of competitor in my mind. But everything I read about, I always read, it's they pit it against Model 3 for some reason. But anyway, it's built on an 800 volt platform, like you might expect. It has a choice of 2 different battery pack sizes. There's a 74.9 kilowatt hour LFP pack. I forget the manufacturer of that. It's a odd manufacturer. And then there's 92.2 kilowatt hour, like a nickel based pack. And then I believe those are in rear wheel drive as well. And then I think there's 2 rear wheel drive trims and an all wheel drive trim.
And 5C charging, right?
Sorry, and 5C charging, right?
That's a big deal. So it'll do like 400 plus kilowatt charging, which is awesome.
It does. I have the number here. 486 kilowatts.
Sign me up.
10 to 80 in 11.3 minutes.
damn, why can't we have the cool stuff here? I mean, I get why, but like also it's just awesome. Like I feel like, right now, I don't know if anyone's noticed, our views are way down on out of spec because there's nothing new for us to cover. Like the coolest thing was the new Audi A6 e-tron. I actually forgot I filmed the video on that car. I have to post it. I totally forgot I went to go drive that car. That's how memorable it was. And then you've got cool stuff like this that's launching. I mean, what is going on? I've got to get back over to China.
Yeah, or move to Europe or move to Asia.
I'm not moving, but I'll go travel.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's really the thing, right? So I really need to know. So when are we going to get some like 5C and a higher, charging here? Because that's really, I think, the next step to really kind of take the EV electrification, make it completely mainstream easily in America. I think that's
what comes first, the charging the chargers or the cars? That you have to ask that, because the automakers are not inspired to make the cars charge faster if they say, well, there's nowhere to charge them. If you remember back when Electrify America, and we beat up Electrify America a lot, but when they launched, they were the first ones to put out 350 kilowatt DC fast chargers. Before that, the OEMs were content with 50 kilowatt charging. Put Tesla in another box. We have to remind everybody, because Tesla deserves to be in its own box. But at the time, no manufacturer was pushing to charge their EVs faster than 50 kilowatt. And Electrify America said, we're gonna future-proof the network or whatever. And they came out with the 350 kilowatt chargers. They didn't exist before they came. So I know they did a lot of things wrong, Electrify America, and there's a lot to criticize them for. But we should give them a little credit for pushing the industry. If they didn't do it at that time, it would have taken even longer to get to faster charging EVs. So Absolutely. with that, as what I truly believe to be the case, now you're talking about when are we getting 5C, 4C charging? When is that going to happen, Dom? Is it going to be when the chargers are here, or when a manufacturer says, "Look, I made a car. Now let's build the infrastructure"?
So that's a discussion. We've got two things. We've got HYC thousands going in, which are capable of some pretty juicy power, especially with a high voltage car. And we have our first ever mega crazy charging car coming to the US, which is the Mercedes AMG GT XX. When that comes, that's going to be almost 800 kilowatt peak, I believe. They also have a partnership or some communication with Alpitronic, so we know you will be able to achieve that on a HYC 1000 charger. That's what I would assume, just from looking at the marketing. So that's coming. I mean, that's top end. That's expensive, but that's going to be cool.
Is that replacing the EQS? Or is this a whole other car?
No, this is like their super spicy machine. This is a performance car. It doesn't really actually look that performance-y, but it's their
AMG GT, right?
XX.
XX.
Yep. And in China, we already see 10C charging. Like BYD has their megawatt charging with the dual gun situation, and that's cool. But to Tom's point, infrastructure has to come first, unfortunately, but it does, because we know this. Zeekr, for example, in Europe, they don't sell the golden brick battery. They don't sell their fast charging stuff. If you look at the Polestar 4, that is a Zeekr 001. We get the low voltage crappy version, not the 001 800 volt high power charging stuff, because our infrastructure doesn't support it. Now, could we benefit from higher voltage? Yeah, absolutely. We still should get it. But the Chinese are sending their previous generation technology, their previous generation platforms to Europe and North America, and making it still look not only competitive, but maybe beating us on their old stuff. So I really want to see some like crazy new things coming very soon. And in China, they've got that mega charging stuff really happening, and it's exciting.
A lot of the stuff going in the ground now is like 400 kilowatts, and like you say, there's like 1,000 kilowatts in the wings, and that's a Tesla version 4 too is up in there, right, as well?
Yes, I can't remember. Is it 1.2 megawatts per cabinet with 500 kilowatt per dispenser? I think that's what it is.
Right. And it's 500. This one peaks at 486. So 500 would be good enough for 5C. I think they need to future proof it even more than that. I think 500 is a bit low if you're talking about the future, because I can see, 10C is really like the what we want to attain. Really, that's like the
But do we need to? I mean, I guess I don't really hear people asking for that anymore. All I still hear people asking for is range. I mean, it's like once you get over the range thing, because most people who don't
right,
know anything about electric cars, they don't even think to ask about charging. They're just like, how far can it go on a charge? They're not
right.
thinking how quickly can I recharge it. Once they realize that the range works for them, then like all you need to do is take a Taycan, a Lucid Gravity, even a Model S, just take it on a road trip once, and you'd be like, oh, okay, this is actually like fine. You don't really
Right.
need
It's
anymore.
just
It's cool. We're just talking about cool stuff at this point, which would be faster charging. And in China,
true.
they get it. It's cool.
I was on Facebook this morning, so I already saw like dozens of guys talking about how terrible EVs are, and it's just because I mean the message is not getting out to a certain subset, at least of people. But
Yeah, don't, it's not worth convincing them. It's
oh no,
just,
I don't
yeah,
try.
yeah.
I've given up mostly given up trying.
Yeah, this is what I'm
Um,
concerned about with the EV thing. There's a lot of younger people who get it. Like I can
right,
see a lot of the new drivers coming into electric and embracing it and understanding it. There's
right,
certainly like an age gap in general, of course, of folks that just won't ever consider it and just, it's probably not worth doing. Now, of course, there are differences to that. Tom's dad's a great example. 87 got his first EV. Or 86,
hmm
87, still ripping his bolt. That's awesome. But I do think it's like, who's going to buy electric cars now? Everyone who wanted one has one.
No, I think more. I mean, no, I think. Well, it's a matter of people realizing, oh, they do want one. A lot of people want one, they just don't know it yet, and that's marketing and just general mood. In other markets, we're not seeing, we're seeing the sales continue to increase and electrification continuing to rise. But the U.S. is like a special case or basket case in some respects. With electrification, we're just like kind of going backwards a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah, I saw Stellantis is going to V8 all the things, which like I'm also a combustion guy, so like that's exciting. But it's interesting. That gives us plenty to talk about. That's all I can say.
true. But just one thing I wanted to talk about or mention real quick is that I did see LG has like I think 5 or 60 batteries coming in 2028. So it sucks that
28.
I believe so. Yeah.
That's like a light year from now. That's so
It's
far
like a
away.
two, at least, yeah, probably 2 years from now, at least.
That's like a whole
Uh,
product cycle development of electric cars away.
right, yeah, it's not. I was gonna say it's not acceptable, but it's like for whatever, unless we can get, you know, the good batteries from China, or to get them to license their tech. I'm not sure what it is that they do that. LG's been making batteries for a long time, Panasonic as well. Why don't they have those big numbers, 510C numbers?
Well, I think we're
What?
so focused on range. So if you look in China, a lot of the small battery options, not, this doesn't go for every brand, but a lot of the small
Right,
battery options are the faster charging ones. So you can go short range, fast charging, long range, still fast charging, but a little bit less fast as a C rate.
right,
And it has to do with the copper to active material content, the actual makeup of the cell. Like there's a bunch of things that go into it. But no question, if you prioritize fast charging, you give up energy density. And so there's no easy way or no known way, I would say, to do massive energy density and massive charging at the same time. And so I learned a lot about this when I was with Ahmad and everyone from the Lucid team talking about the cell they chose for the Gravity. They're like, could we make this a megawatt charging car? Absolutely. But if you look at that cell density, this car would not do 400 miles on a charge. It would do whatever, 280, 270, whatever the number was. So they're like, we want to get the fastest charging, the most amount of energy density, but still as a sales number, what sells more cars, what's actually more useful is a very long range car with as fast charging as you can jam in there. That's the compromise in our market that works really well.
right. So just to close out that Xpeng P7 story. So it's in China. It's going to be in the 41,000 US equivalent neighborhood. I imagine it's going to be more like it sells for 50,000. The old one sells for 50,000 or starts at 50,000 in Germany. And I imagine this one might be even a bit more than that. So that's what that is. It has a cool, fancy screen. I don't know if you saw that, but it has like a little AI assistant is in the corner, like a virtual Nomi, and like you have in Neo. And then, but the screen will tilt towards the driver or towards the passenger, also up and down. It does some fancy tilting things, and it has a huge heads-up display, like 87-inch heads-up display. It's kind of wild. And yeah, there's a pile of information they haven't released yet, but Xpeng is like on a tear. Their January to July deliveries, 233,000, almost 234,000 vehicles, a year-on-year increase of over 270%. So they've almost like 2.5, almost tripled their production in the last year. So they're kind of on a tear, and so this, I think we'll see a lot more of this P7s and different cars like that. So the other thing we needed to talk about real quick, and we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this, was the oh right, I did want to talk about the iX3 a bit, but if we don't have time, that's cool too. Just throwing this up here, just so we do mention, this is the front of the new GLC EV grille, which is replacing, it's the, what do you call it? What's the Mercedes 3-row that we have here now? GLB? No, it's
Well,
not, they
that
don't
is a
call it that here.
3-row EQB and then
EQB, yeah.
EQS.
Right. I think this is kind of I feel like this is an EQB replacement, but maybe it's EQS. But
Well,
anyway, it's kind of,
it's in between them. So it's GLC is the small SUV, and then GLB is smaller. So this is one size up from GLB or EQB.
Right. I forgot about that.
EQC replacement.
Right. So Mercedes is changing their naming, their nomenclature for the EV stuff. Before, everything was EQ. But if you look at the name here, you can see the C at the end. That's kind of denotes the size. So GLB is smaller. If there was a GLD, a GLE would be bigger. I guess. Do they make a GLE?
Yeah, of course. It's their most popular SUV, I think.
Right.
Built in Tuscaloosa. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're also making the front of these look a little bit more like their traditional grilled fronts. And if you don't like all the lights there, I believe that's an option. So you don't have to look like a Christmas tree coming down the road. But it's also some people.
They really need to do something.
Oh yeah. I mean, the underlying tech is really good at Mercedes. I think they've done their homework, right?
Well, for their next gen, so for EVA 2 platform, it seems pretty good. Like with the CLA, nice tech, ugly car.
Right.
Car looks so unsubstantial. I don't know who would ever desire to drive that car.
I do.
Why? It looks so lame. Like you look at that and you go, I worked so hard for a car that's bleh, looks like a fish. No, you work hard for a car that's freaking awesome. And that car technically is, but it just looks like, people don't buy cars because they want it to be efficient. There's like 3 people and they're all in this audience. But other than that, it's got to look awesome. It's got to feel good. It's an emotional decision. It's got to make you feel great. It's why G-Wagons hold their value so well, because they're just cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture here on my screen. I don't know how I should have pulled one up. CLA images. No, that's just the old one. Damn it. CLE EV. I mean,
no, it's not a desirable car. This is not an aspirational product. This is an entry-level Mercedes EV. You say, one day I really want to have an E-Class or something. And you go, okay, well, you can only afford the lease payment on a CLA EV. And that's because we can't sell them. So we're making them real cheap. You can roll your negative equity into this car and you'll be good to go. And that's what sells them. That is how CLAs, EQBs, EQAs or whatever in Europe, that's how they sell. They sell on people wanting the badge. And because they're so heavily incentivized right now, and they will continue to be, because this car will not sell in our market, they can just roll negative equity in, get out of it at the end of the lease term, and then maybe step up into a desirable Mercedes. That does not mean the tech is going to be bad. That car is just not an aspirational product.
Right. I'm just looking here. Oh, so wondering if anyone's stick up for it in the comments, but no. Chitter Kung Pao, the LA is so ugly, IMO. And I drive an i4 and an iX. I love the iX. I don't think the iX looks ugly. Not a
Yeah,
big fan
iX
of
and
the
i4 both look fine. They look great.
i4 is kind of, but okay.
I like the i4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
i4 is a cool car. I mean, it's old now. Drives old. Doesn't actually drive that great, but it's a nice car.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, but the CLA does have the, like we were just talking about, the nomenclature has the A on the end, so it's a smaller one, and it's the more affordable choice. And you see, people who want to be driving a Mercedes, that's what they'll go for if they're not,
The
well
lease
off, I
deals in
guess.
these are going to be amazing. Just let them sit on dealer lots because they won't sell, and you're going to lease
Right.
this thing for $299 a month, and you're going to have an efficient, powerful, nice driving car with great tech, amazing charging, 300 plus kilowatt charging in this thing. Does seem to be a little thermally limited based off the early charging tests. Like, I am so excited from this car from a technical standpoint. That does not
Right.
make it a desirable product.
Right. Yeah. Rear is kind of a letdown. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. After the P7, yeah, it doesn't rise to a Chinese car level, which is saying something, right? About where the world's going.
Yeah, it's not worth it to knock them on this car because they put so much energy into the CLA as it's the first of the new platform. So when this gets sized up to, their bigger vehicles, it'll be the same tech, just scaled. Then it could actually get really exciting from a desirability standpoint. But that's why I'm mostly excited about CLA. If they launched the CLE or the CLS electric, whatever they're going to call that stuff, just S-Class electric with this stuff in there, and then they launched this car, we wouldn't even be talking about it. The only reason we're talking about it is because it's the first of a new platform.
It's a very good point. Very good point. Yeah, so it's 136 minutes. 136 minutes we've been, so I guess we could call this a day if we like.
One last point. Ford's announcements on Monday. I would love to get all of your predictions as to what they're going to announce. I think they're pretty clear on it not being a car. It is a factory platform strategy announcement, not a product reveal, is from everything I can gather. But they're really, I actually don't think Ford's really hyping it up. I think everyone is taking this Model T moment and hyping it up for them. And so I wonder if they're a little bit out ahead of their skis and they won't have the announcement to back up the hype.
Yeah, but they said it was their Model T moment.
When you say something's Model T moment,
those words in their mouth, you can't come back from that. Like, that has to be, it has to be something huge. Like, like you don't get to say that again if this isn't something that really helps propel them into the next generation. If it turns out to not be work, then they're credible. Like, you can never use Model T moment again.
I think that's a real possibility. I think it really could be kind of a letdown. I don't know. Everyone else is so excited. I'm just taking the other side.
And automakers do this. I remember when Volkswagen first came out with the ID4, I was at all the press events in Germany and everything at the shows, and they were ramping it up like it was our next Beetle. This is our next Beetle. We're going to sell millions of them. We have 6 factories worldwide that are going to be building them. You're going to see these things everywhere. It's going to be like, this is Volkswagen's new, thing. And while the ID4, it was a good car and is a good car, and they did sell a decent amount of them, it was a huge letdown compared to what Volkswagen was hoping for. Software mostly hurt it, but
now they fixed it, and they haven't even communicated about it. Volkswagen has not said, we fixed the problem. Why? It's one ad campaign. This car had the worst user interface. Now it actually works.
And when they had the door handle recall, for crying out loud, they stopped selling it for 5 months. How does it take 5 months to fix it, to re-engineer a door handle? I couldn't believe that. I really just couldn't believe that it took them that long. And they were basically telling their dealers, because a good friend of mine wanted one, and I went to the dealership with them. And this was like in September of the last year. And I'm like, well, they'll have a fix for this in a couple of weeks. It's a recall. They're not going to stop selling the car. And he said, look, Volkswagen communicated to us to just push the customers into something else. because it's not quick, and it's not going to be fixed at least for 3 months. They said this was in September. I don't think they fixed it till like January, right, or something last year. I
It
mean,
was
I've
way
never
too
seen
long.
for a door handle redesign 5 months. Uh,
It's a lot. Yeah.
Here's another interesting tidbit. In Colorado right now, one of our friends, Scott, actually, one of her friends, helped buy an ID4. I think they're picking it up today, and they're filming a whole video about it. 0 down. This is for a big battery, all-wheel drive Pro S. So not fully spec'd, but 1 down from everything. This is almost a
Yeah.
$50-something thousand car. 0 down, $116 a month, taxes and fees included, drive
Oh,
off.
geez.
yeah.
Oh my
Crazy.
God. I would do that.
So, that's a steal. Of course you got to lease it, which a lot of people are not comfortable with, but that's the way to do
I
it.
mean, now at that money, that's like a no-brainer. That's like if you drive a gas vehicle now, you'll save that in gas basically in a
So
month, and
hit up
it's like a free car.
Ed Carroll Volkswagen in Fort Collins. They're great friends of ours. Just tell them, out of spec, and they'll hook you up with whatever deal that is. I hope that's an insane deal. Ford's Model T moment. I'm kind of thinking it's going to be a bit of a letdown. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping it really is something crazy. Dominic, I'd love to hear what you think, because you've been in this game. You've been following all the announcements. You've ridden the wave of this is going to be amazing and this is going to suck. What do you think?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I only know what. I'm kind of in agreement with a lot of the comments I'm seeing here from our audience, who are pretty much up to speed as well. I'm expecting to hear about a platform. I remember when Volkswagen first introduced the MEB platform, and so I'm expecting something like that, a common platform that you can use on a bunch of different models, with a low cost being like a really primary driver of many of the strategies. So LFP batteries. Man, I just saw that GM is importing their LFP batteries for the Chevy Bolt from China somehow,
I
which
saw
is
that
kind of
too.
crazy.
That's not good.
How does it even work? But anyway, but Ford is building a big LFP plant in Marshall, in Michigan, and with a tech license from CATL. And so I believe that their stuff was going to be powered from there. But yeah, I'm not really sure. They'll talk about the plant and making, jobs, creating a lot of jobs, things like that. But I think really for the EVs, I think they need to let the world know, or let the country know, that they have affordable EVs coming, with good range and good performance. And yeah, affordability is like going to be the key factor, really, because that's what I think everyone's primed to hear about EVs. They want to hear about affordable EVs, even if they don't watch them when you put them on the out of spec channel. Still,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about it. Tom, do you have?
I'm worried about it not of it being a big letdown, to be honest with you. And being along the lines of what Mike posted, just about their next platform design. I reached out to Ford about a week ago and said, look, I'd like to perhaps, cover this, make a video of it. Could we, is there any way under embargo I can get a little bit of information ahead of time, or, could you steer me in the right direction? I'd like to cover this. And I haven't heard back from Ford. And this is my contacts that I deal with all the time. And that never happens, to me at least. With Ford, there's some companies that seem to respond better than others. But I've been out there in the Ford circles for a while. I have the Lightning. I do a lot of Ford content, and they didn't even respond to my email. I was like, you got to steer me in the right direction with this, or what's going on? Is there going to be an in-person event? Could we do a video? Could we do an interview? Anything like this? If this is your next Model T moment, you're gonna want to promote this. And crickets. So I don't know. I'm disappointed that they didn't respond back to me. So I haven't done anything with it with regards to covering it, writing.
Our friends
YouTube
Patrick and Liv are going. So Patrick and Liv will be there on site, and I'm hoping they can get the vibe of what's going on, but I won't be there, and Tom's not going. So yeah, we're kind of left in the dark here, which maybe is like, oh, it'll actually be kind of cool. Maybe it's going to be freaking awesome. I don't know.
I hope so.
No, I guess
I certainly hope it is, but it was odd to me that, I didn't receive anything and they didn't even answer my email. I've expected at the very minimum, Tom, this is going to be an online virtual thing, and no, we're not doing it big, but not even a response. So I was disappointed with that.
Hmm. Well, we'll be watching the what is it, Mach E vlog channel. Let me throw this up here.
They'll have a
They're-
video
they're-
on out of spec reviews the next day. So
Okay.
they're going to do a video for their channels. Yeah, Mach-E vlog, which is big announcement coming there, but that'll be on out of spec reviews, and it is being live streamed.
Yes.
Don't
So we'll all
yeah.
see it. And is it? Did you say Monday? It's happening.
The 11th, yes.
Do you know the time of day? Just offhand?
No.
No, neither do I. Someone want to live? What time of day does that event start?
But
She's in the comments.
regardless, people will be able, I'm sure Ford will have it on their website soon enough, like
Sure.
presentation starting at whatever, similar, like
Sure.
I would imagine how Apple does it.
Right. Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll keep an eye out for that, and we'll be talking about it next week for sure. That's going to be the really big news. Really kind of curious about that. I also need to talk to Ford or GM, one of those two, about their LMR batteries. I'm really kind of excited about that. It's like it could be like a replacement for the LFP, is with a better performance but the same low cost. So I'm kind of curious about that, how that all fits into the puzzle of, moving parts and building plants and everything like that. Yes, Hound Stuff says, fun times indeed. All right. So I guess that brings us to the end of our show. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or get in touch with us on the social media platform of your choice. Don't forget, if you like the show, please give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications. Thank you all very much for joining us once again, and we'll see you again next week. Ciao.